And hello, and welcome to Boss Lady Summit. This is your man who loves women's empowerment, Edwards here, and we've got Annette Bacon with us today. How you doing, Annette Bacon? What's going on?
I'm doing fantastic. It's really great to be here today, Ed. I'm just excited. I love what we're going to be talking about today. So, yeah, I'm ready to go.
And I have to say it, we're both sporting blue today. Is that a sign? Is that a sign
I
from
think
Jesus,
it,
Annette?
I do believe that. Absolutely. It's actually my favorite color.
There
I have
you
a
go.
blue car, I have blue everything.
There you go. It's very professional of you, Annette. Very professional of you, which I think is amazing.
Thank you.
Now, friends from across the world, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining our Boss Lady Summit. We run this every month, and we talk about different issues of women's empowerment. And sometimes it's me, sometimes it's a whole panel. And today we've got Annette Bacon coming in. We've got a few other characters coming in, and a bit of an interesting backstory on this one. When we originally started the Boss Lady Summit, another lady was hosting it. She turned around and did a big defection and said, "Hey, I want Ed to actually host the Boss Lady Summit." And I'm like, "What the hell? I'm a dude. Why? How should a dude like me host the Boss Lady Summit?" You know what they said? "Ed, we don't care that you're a dude. We care that you love women's empowerment." I do. And I love women's empowerment when it wasn't unpopular. And Annette, I know you're right into women's empowerment. Tell us your backstory on that one.
Yeah. And I'm with you. It's not about an us and them. Like, I
Yep.
really feel like the extreme feminist has taken it way too far, you
Yep.
know, and it is very much, it's not, and it's not always just about gender too. It's helping people to understand. It's also about energy. When we're
Mm,
talking about, masculinity and femininity, it's the energy that we both have
mm,
as men and women, and it's bringing that energy and knowing what energy to bring to that situation, especially if I'm talking in leadership. To bring in the
mm.
situation, I may need to step into my masculine energy to deal with the situation. I may need to step into my feminine energy. So I really think that the gender debate it hijacks women's
Yep.
empowerment sometimes when it
Yep.
goes to that extreme and it becomes very much us and them. And I love the fact how you support women. And what I also love, Ed, is how you embrace that feminine energy yourself.
Yeah.
And that's so thank you very much. So
Oh,
for me, my background is I've worked in a lot of toxic, unhealthy work environments,
God.
environments where I've had to hit the ceiling over
Oh,
and over.
wow.
And I think that's when I really started to step into the space of if I'm not going to wait for policy, I'm not going to wait for
Mm,
politicians, I'm not waiting for everybody else
mm,
for the external factors to change. I
mm.
think as women and men, we need to step into the space of creating that change ourselves
Mm.
by being the change.
Oh, I love it. And I love bringing this one up. And this fits beautifully the topic of rising from adversity and resilience and comeback stories today. You know, I'm showing my age now, Annette. I'm showing my age now. So I know I'm older than you, so I'm showing my age here. There you go. Now, what it is, right? Remember, you know, Judge Judy? Do you ever watch Judge Judy on date? She's like, "You need to return that man's dog and give him $50." You know, Judge Judy, right? Yeah.
Yes.
There's this, it's on YouTube. There's this really good interview of it where this really rude journalist asked her this sort of very sexist question, but from a women's viewpoint, saying, "Oh, as a woman, how have you overcome all the factors that are blocking you?" And Judge Judy got really angry and said, "How dare you bring that up? I've worked very hard to be here. It has nothing to do with I'm a woman, blah, 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 blah." Now, what I loved about her almost Gordon Ramsay-ish sort of over the top answer was that she didn't take that victim narrative. I think the journalist is trying to put that, "Oh, there, you're a woman, you're weak. How did you do it?" And she's like, "No, F off. I'm powerful and strong enough, work to it." And to me, I suppose that's a viewpoint, I suppose, of women's empowerment I come in on. I don't like this whole victim, oh, women, there. I like this whole, Wonder Woman, grab a sword, throw a brick through a window. I mean that metaphorically, of course. I mean the more action-oriented viewpoint. And this brings us into adversity and rock bottom stories. And I did something very cool, Annette. Do you want to hear what I did before about this live stream? Do you want to hear it, Annette?
Absolutely.
I've had the worst creative block the past few days, which is very unlike me. And I jumped on Elon Musk's Grok and actually pumped it into XAI, which cost me $50 a month, and actually have a bunch of angles to talk through from advanced AI. And do you want to hear what they are, Annette Bacon?
I would love to hear it.
Well, and we're going to start with you, right, as the suspect. There's 9 different points from Elon Musk's AI. And the first one I want to ask you is sharing personal rock bottom stories. So I want to ask you, Annette, what is a personal rock bottom story that you encountered, and how did you sort of work through it? How did you deal with the low on that, and how did you come out of it?
Oh, that's a great question. So on a personal level, mine was my sister who has Huntington's disease.
Yeah.
Very, very intense.
Just jumping in, can you please just tell us what Huntington's disease is, just for our audience around the world? Just jumping in.
No problem. Okay, so Huntington's disease actually attacks in the brain. It attacks the part of the body that will. It affects people differently, but generally speaking, it will attack muscle. So eventually, they can't. You start to lose all muscle control. That's muscle in legs, arms. Some people think that it looks a bit like Parkinson's because they get what's called chorea, which is body shaking and jerking, body jerking. It's more jerking than shaking. They lose the ability to swallow and talk. And then that's some of the physical. Then the psychological can be really extreme mental health. It can be real obstinate behavior. It can actually even turn quite physically violent at times if it goes down that way. So so that's Huntington's, and it's genetic, and it's also so my mother passed away from it, and it's and there's no cure. Although the exciting news is the UK have just found some way that they can now extend the life in an early diagnosis stage. They can actually extend now, lengthen the distance between of symptoms and become symptomatic, which is very exciting. So certainly at the earlier stages. So that's what Huntington's is.
And your sister, what happened to your sister?
Well, sadly, it kind of highlighted the lack of health and mental health services that are available.
Yeah.
So the battle was about her, because she's not old enough for aged care.
Right. So stuck in the middle. She's got nothing to back her up. Stuck in the middle.
Nothing at all. Yeah. So she actually falls under NDIS. And so what it became, there was probably about the past 3, I would say, except this year, but for the past 3 to 4 years, we were constantly in that sort of battleground, firstly of trying to get her diagnosed, then trying to get her funded. She was homeless.
Oh, God.
She was suicidal.
Okay, so she really tanked. So this, in terms of rock bottom, your whole sister lost the farm as she slid down.
Absolutely, yeah. And part of the reason she was homeless, she just refused to live in the quality of the care was diabolical. There was duty of care issues. I made so many complaints. So she was stuck in that space.
Yeah.
And rather than be in that space, she chose to be homeless. And then when she also had a guardian because she can't make decisions for herself. And so you were battling guardian. So it was that was my rock bottom for the past 3 years. Sure.
And in that rock bottom, how did you, and this is bring it back to our audience as well, how did you work through that rock bottom? Because how did you work through that rock bottom and get betterment in the situation?
Yeah, great question. So for me, it was unstoppable, what I like to call unstoppable love. It's God's love. You know, it's bringing to that situation, you know, no matter what was going on, I love her, and and my love for her was, and God's love for her was, I was determined I was not going to let her be the one that was going to fall through that system and through those cracks. So so I really bought that. At times, again, I had to step into my masculine energy and really be so assertive and very decisive, not decisive, but you know what I'm saying? Like I had to really
you got to be decisive. You'd have to be crazy decisive in a situation like that. You have to.
Absolutely. So, but then also when I would get their attention, it was then to pour on that feminine, to pour into and bring them back to, she's not a case number. She is, and I won't say her name, but she is, you know, Annette Bacon, and she is a person. She's my sister, and she deserves to have a quality life. And so the first part of that process was doing that. So for me, what I needed to do as well was protect my health and well-being, because in that moment I was also my most unhealthy in every aspect of my life, physically as well. I wasn't eating well. Things were kind of crazy. So I had to really learn boundaries. I had to learn to say it is okay for me to put my health first. I had to give myself permission, Ed, to just create space for myself and build myself up so that I could continue that fight. Because if I kept going, I don't know. I just don't think I could have kept going that way.
Yeah. And I like as well how you brought up, you know, God and Jesus and that as well, because the thing that I found amazing now, I'm not the biggest, even though I consider myself a Christian, I'm not a very good one. And I'm not the biggest church goer, but I find that sometimes when you're going through a low, a visit to church can be that recharge. I was just going to ask you from a more Jesus Christian point of view, how did sort of God come into your life during that low and that period?
Yeah, great. And I'm with you. Like, I don't go to church myself, but God is everywhere. He's not in a church, right? So that's the beauty of God. Like, he's omniscient. He's everywhere, omniscient, right? So he's absolutely everywhere and he's all knowing.
Yeah. Omniscient, right? Omniscient. Yeah, omniscient.
Yes, omnipresent is all present, you know. So for me, it really came down to the people that I have around me. I have the most amazing Christian friends. And so there was a lot of me going and just sitting with them and just being able to sit there, pray together and just sit and be with each other in his presence. That was really powerful for me. It was to just remember to create space that no matter what was going on, no matter how dire the situation, nothing is impossible in God. And that's what I love about God, is nothing is impossible. And I am telling you, we saw miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle, and I still am seeing miracles of, you know, doors opening and getting the fundings that she needed, you know, getting her off the street, all those things. One time I was praying for her because she was being stalked by a man, right?
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was horrible. I had photos of this, right, of this guy who was stalking her. And we prayed just that someone would go and look after her. And then there was this beautiful group of people, and they were Christians as well, and they were Christian street workers. And they went up to my sister, and then they started feeding her and talking with her and praying with her, and it was just phenomenal. And so that came out of sitting back, praying, and just trusting that I wasn't going to be able to fix everything, but I didn't need to worry because God loved her and loves her, so he will show up for her.
So Jesus sent in a Christian hit squad to go and save her. That's pretty cool. There we go. That's pretty cool. And I want to be very direct with this one as well. I'm not going to
Yes.
dance around this one. I think this is what I was thinking about when we're talking about adversity and rock bottom. As I was doing the research for this topic, and I was thinking, and you're in my mind as well. There's a lot of platitudes out there. There's a lot of fakeness in motivation. I know we've had this chat. We're just like, you just got to be positive. You got to use affirmations. You got to use this. You got to use that. And I think, and I'm gonna sound like a real right winger now, which I am. I think society has really left people, like as in the more non-godly secular society, has left, especially left out women when it comes to adversity and rock bottom, because you know antidepressants are going through the roof. People are abusing bad things to sort of deal with these situations. And when I was sitting there and thinking about it, I thought I'm not going to be apologetic on this one. I think, again, Jesus, faith in God, to me, when you're going through rock bottom and adversity, the worst thing you can do is take it on yourself. I think opening your heart to God and Jesus Christ is the way to go. So, yeah, what do you think of that one, Annette? I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but could you just expand on that a bit? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look, absolutely. I think the thing that I've been a Christian now for, since 1994.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I actually gave my heart to the Lord. It was funny. It was Valentine's Day. That's why I remember. And I remember, and what I want to say is he is my Valentine, right? He is the lover of my soul, and he is the one person who will love me more than anyone on earth. And I think, to me, it has been God's love that has carried me through every bit of highs and lows in my life. And I feel like, as a woman in particular, my connection with God is, well, it's not just in my personal life, but even from a business point of view. So I put on I like to say I'm a faith-driven entrepreneur, right? Because I want my faith to drive everything that I do. What I want to do is I want to be that beacon out there for people that God is love. If you look in the world right now, more than ever, I feel like, it's very black and white now. There is love, and there is the complete opposite to that.
Yeah.
And I just think that so for me, it's about saying and bringing that love of God in everything, whether it's personally, professionally, helping people to connect with that space. Because if there's one thing men and women desire more than anything, is to be loved, to know, be loved and be connected, because that's how he created us. He created us to connect with him and connect with others. So for me, when I think about all of those times in my life, I had a friend, my boss, not so long ago, had a brain aneurysm. Now, she died, and then they brought her back to life, right? We prayed for her, and I said to her, she knew I'd be praying for her. She was a miracle. She is a walking miracle, because she was brought back to life. And not only that, her brain memory that was gone has been 100% restored. So from the aneurysm, she had lost all of her memory, and over the course of a couple of months, and it was instantaneous. It went from no memory to the very next day, memory. She had all her memory passed from the event, from the aneurysm, 100% fully restored.
Wow.
So it's bringing that to everyday life. And that was my boss. And if I was in my job for that 20 years, for that 7 years, if I was in that job for the one purpose, and that was that she would come to know God, then all of the adversity that I faced in my job and that toxic environment was worth it, because she is now seeking out God for herself.
Oh, there we go. So recommendation one from this live stream: if you're not into God or Jesus, get into it. Is that recommendation number one? That's a recommendation I'm running.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
unapologetically love Jesus around here. That's all I can say. Now, this brings me to the next point, and back to Elon Musk's Grok AI, which I used to cheat. I had a real creative block, which is not my style, so I cheated and used AI here. The second one that Elon Musk suggests that we talk about is, and this is one of my favorite ones, is moving from victim to leader. And you're very good at this, which is why I'm glad you're here, from victim to leader. And this is one of the problems I've always had with, because I suppose women's empowerment, right, has been really butchered and cut up over the years. So I was in a women's empowerment when it was very unpopular. So I've always been in women's empowerment. And to me, there's two sides of empowerment for women. There's the victim side, which I think is terrible and I can't stand. I know you can't as well. And the leadership side. And I find as well, especially when I talk to women, so many women are stuck in victim mode. And I can't stand it, like, oh, this person's doing this to me, this person's doing that to me. It's sexism, it's this and that. And I get that those all things are real. I believe, there is sexism, there is a glass ceiling and all that. But also there's calling yourself a victim and becoming a victim and not doing something about it. So I want to expand on that, Annette. And again, I'm not feminine, obviously you are. How do we go from that victim to leadership mindset? And what do you think of the whole situation I'm bringing up?
Yeah. Oh, and that's another great question, because I worked in my previous roles, I've worked in community services. So I worked with a lot of women, and some of the programs I worked on, I did some life coaching with women. And one of the biggest challenges that I had was exactly that, that I was working with women that were really stuck in that victim mentality. And that sort of gap space. So part of that is helping them to see the one thing that when you're in that victim mentality, the first thing you actually give up is agency and ownership of your decisions. Because regardless of, and it's terrible, and we all have challenges in life, we have some very horrible situations that will happen, right? That is what's going to happen in life. That you can't escape it. It's called life, right? We all have those stories. And I think what happens is it's when, as you're going in that space, it's whether you're going to allow, because you can't control the external environment, you can't control what happens to you. All you can control is how you respond and what your thinking is. And part of moving out of that victim headspace, like a fixed mindset, is really asking yourself, okay, and taking agency and responsibility even for your own decisions. And this is a hard thing to do, because especially as a coach, my job is to, I'm not there as a counselor. I'm there to provoke your current thinking that got you where you are now, and to move forward, change your thinking to be able to have different results. So when I'm working in that space, it's actually helping them to understand that even if the decision was not a decision they would have made or wanted to make, it was still ultimately the decision that they've made, if you know what I'm saying. So that didn't, what I mean is, so I'll clarify that a little bit. Every where we are now is the result of the decisions we've made. So I worked with some women that were in DV, who had come out of DV and were wanting to move forward.
And for the ones, DV means domestic violence.
Oh, yes? Sorry, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
cool.
yes. So in domestic violence. So, and that was that you've got to bring, that's when you are bringing all of that feminine energy, every ounce of empathy and compassion into that situation. But you're gently helping them to understand, because what they've lost, domestic violence is all about control and power and the loss of that. So it's gently helping them to understand the way to empowerment is them knowing that they can now, moving forward, make different decisions.
Yeah.
And they don't need to stay in that place anymore. And it's helping them to realize that moving forward, it's helping them to understand, to have compassion. You did the best you could in that situation. I'm not here to judge, but I did notice, until they took ownership and understood that it was still their decision. They were still making decisions, whether it was, hard or not what they really wanted to do, and to be okay with that, to not judge themselves for those decisions, but to have compassion for themselves. I made that decision. It was survival. I did the best I could with what I knew. But now it's about bringing that self-awareness of it can be different. It doesn't need to stay the same anymore. And I think that's the most powerful thing about shifting from victim or fixed mindset into a growth mindset, is helping people to understand and have that awareness. You were doing the best you could in that moment. Moving forward, do you want that same life anymore? Do you want the same result? No. Then let's start to change how you think and your decisions moving forward. And that to me is the pivotal shift between those spaces.
Oh, amazing. Now, Annette, we've got a superstar that's just logged into the green room, you would say, or purple room of the live stream. We've got Sandy Tembo with us. And, you know, Sandy's a great friend of ours. She is a legendary business leader and more of an operational, structural business coach from Brisbane, and she's amazing. So, yeah, Sandy Tembo is a very, very cool lady. She is in the waiting room. And we're going to get her on shortly just to say an amazing hello and get some of her thoughts. So there we go. We got her in the room. Yeah, and so you know Sandy, don't you, Annette? Isn't Sandy
Yes,
amazing?
I love Sandy. She is amazing. She's such an inspiring woman for me.
Awesome. All right, so without further ado, let's bring in Sandy. Oh my God, Sandy Tembo. Let's hope the internet works. Sandy, are you there? Can you hear us? Damn it. There we go. After all that build up, the internet's not working. Hey, there's Sandy. Oh, rats. We'll try and get Sandy in a little bit later. I know her internet is a little bit glitchy. But yeah, Sandy's a very, very good friend of ours and an absolute legendary business leader. So we'll try and get Sandy in a bit later. But for those in the audience, connect with, I'll put the name in, Sandy Tembo. I was putting in the chat. Is absolutely amazing. So I think she's having a bit of internet trouble, but this is Sandy Tembo. So connect with Sandy. She's an amazing leader. We'll just try again one more time. Sandy, can you hear us? Is your internet okay? No, rats. We're going to have to give... We'll try again a little bit later, but we love you, Sandy. There we go. No, bandwidth is a bit weak. So we'll try again later with amazing Sandy. But yeah, for those around the world, please connect with Sandy Tembo. She's a great friend of ours. But yeah, internet can be very glitchy in Australia. So isn't internet just so glitchy in Australia, Annette? Doesn't internet drive you mad in this country?
It does. I live in a black spot. And so not only do I have glitchy internet, but I have no mobile phone service.
Oh, God.
And I live in an outer suburb of Perth. It's not.
Yeah. So you're still in the suburbs and you still don't have any internet. That's the way that it goes. Crazy. So we'll try and grab Sandy a little bit later, but depending on internet. So that brings me to the next one. Right, and this is a good point that I want to talk about. And you have touched on, this is something I want to go into, is building resilience. So in other words, yeah, we hit rock bottom, we're going through adversity, be it it's our fault, stuff being done to us, whatever, we take responsibility. But and I used to be not very resilient, believe it or not. To me, building resilience, as in your ability to get up after taking hits or reduce damage taken, that was one of my biggest problems. I used to be very good at getting up, but I used to get triggered so easily. So I want you to talk a bit about this one, Annette. How do we, like, for example, how do we build resilience? How do we get triggered less? How do we stay active? I remember I used to be very, very motivated, but I also used to be very fragile as well, right? Can you just unpack that a bit more, Annette, and give us some context there?
Sure. So for building resilience, I think there's two aspects. It's your thinking and it's your emotional intelligence. And because in that space of building resilience, the first thing, and I love what you were saying about, being able to recognize that, there are going to be things that are going to trigger us in time. There are going to be situations that are going to come up. And how we work how our brain works is that the first thing that gets triggered is actually our emotions, right? So, and I think having strong emotional intelligence and awareness. So when we're talking about emotional intelligence, the first thing we're talking about is actually having the self-awareness of your own emotions and being able to also, you know, and it's not just about I'm happy, sad. There's also the nuances of emotion. So, you know, there's about 5 different nuances of being happy. There's, you know, sad, angry, frustrated. So it's really understanding the language. I love the language of emotion. And I think we're very quick to say, how are you going? We know it's a greeting, but most people say, fine, good, end of conversation. Okay, right? They don't say anymore. Or I don't hear a lot of, I'm feeling frustrated. I'm excited. I'm inspired. So there's not a lot of language out there when you are talking to people. And this is, I think, really an important first step is understanding your emotions and what triggers them. Because once you start to realize that and start to have some strategies to regulate when that comes, your emotions are not good or bad. They are data telling you how you are feeling in that moment to whatever that event is, or whatever the situation is, or whatever the thought is that has triggered that emotion. So it's learning to not judge your emotions, to be okay with them. They are what is called the human condition. We all have them, you know, and it's a normal, natural part of being human. So I think the first step to building resilience is being able to firstly recognize, be kind to yourself, be self-compassionate about what you are feeling. It's okay to feel that way. And language and learn the language, because nuances sometimes say, I'm really angry. Are you angry? What does it mean to be angry? Oh, well, actually, maybe I'm just frustrated. So now we're already bringing that back. Oh, are you really frustrated? Well, I'm just disappointed. Oh, okay. So as you start to learn that language of all of those nuances, sometimes we just go for even the extreme. And by saying, I'm angry, you're now putting your mind into your emotional brain into that state. Right. So it's learning those nuances is a very powerful first step for building resilience.
And just on that, speaking of human condition, we've got Sandy Tembo back again. We're going to try again. As much as I love Jesus, I don't know if praying to Jesus will improve our internet speed. Definitely your internet speed is the victim of Satan, not Jesus. Let's try again. Oh my God, let's try again. Sandy, can you hear us, Sandy? Hey, Sandy, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Hi.
Oh my God, we got Sandy. I don't believe it. Welcome.
How are you guys?
Well, it's great to see you, Sandy, and internet's crazy. Now, Sandy, thank you for being so patient. Tell us, we're talking about rock bottom adversity, as you know. Please, you've been listening in. Tell us what you think about rising from rock bottom and adversity. Let's get a Sandy monologue. Over to you, Sandy. Tell us your thoughts.
Well, I just joined, so I missed the whole conversation. But I think basically I've had a few instances of that. And I just thought, it would be good to join the conversation and share my perspective. But I think really it's really a gift actually when you get to certain low points because it's really about what I have discovered. Initially, there's that why me? You can ask the questions, why me? But then I think what I've discovered over the years is about embracing that moment and understand what is the reason that you're there is to actually get a lesson out of it. And I have had instances from whether it was childhood or whether it was in relationships or in a career. And in each of those moments, it's teaching moments, and it has always been the growth. And I found the greatest transformation in some of those moments because when you pay attention to whatever it is, whether it's you might be feeling, well, maybe I'm not good enough, or whether it's um, whatever it might be, if you take stock into that moment, um, for some reason, I have actually found the greatest strength because I'm a single mom, and I have also found the greatest strength um, when I became a single mom. It was by choice. And so when I was in that situation, I basically have found the greatest purpose, for example, in my life through that season. And that has actually then fueled me to show up in the best possible way because I'm showing it not for myself but for other people, for those two daughters of mine. So then I can be that example. So, and I've raised the most resilient girls as well because they've seen the lessons through me, and so it has been a gift. So I think that's basically the lesson that I would want to share. Yeah.
And I love it, Sandy. And what I want to ask you, and this is what Annette and I were going into earlier, when you're going through that low, when you became a single mom, you're dealing with all those low emotions, how did you emotionally keep yourself going so you could turn everything around?
I think also faith-based, um, relying on my faith has always been the most important. And so, being a Christian faith, I
Well,
tap into my faith, and I have always um, known that I'm created for more. I am worthy, you know.
ooh, love it. And it's amazing. I know you were busy before you just came in. Annette and I, both, as you know, we're both Christians. We just started off basically as a sermon. So we just started off, this basically, we should do a Boss Ladies on why Jesus is awesome. We just started off in full Team Jesus mode, right? So there you go. We all love Jesus. I want to ask you about that because this is one of the key
Oh,
things. Yeah, tell us more, and please be direct. We all love Jesus around here. Tell us how your faith in Jesus and Christianity helped you work through that low.
sorry, just repeat that. It was
Oh, yeah, no
just
problem.
breaking up a bit. Sorry.
Oh, good. We've got a bit of lag and weak internet. But what I want to ask you is, how did your faith in Jesus and Christianity help you work through that low?
Yeah, no, I mean, because I was raised, I mean, that's all I have known, right? Because I was raised by my grandparents, because my mother was living overseas in the UK, and I'm from Zimbabwe, so I was raised by my grandparents and my in the Catholic Church, so they would basically have rosary every weekend at the house. So it was just ingrained. It was just something that we did every day. There's people coming every week, and so it's almost like you just know that if you're down, you basically talk to God, and so it was just something that is just normal that you do. But I think what happens is when you're a child, it's through following what adults are doing. But then when I have become an adult, I have had my own personal relationship with God. And it's having those conversations with God. And one of the things through those conversations, I do a lot of journaling. And so I would write everything that's happened in the day. And then at the end, I would say, I surrender it. And so I think that was my pathway that, when I wake up the next day, there's mercies that I knew each and every morning. And I would just somehow have the insights of what's the next steps that I should take, whether apply for this role. And when I apply for that role, I get that role. I just have this favor. Yeah, that's kind of how it has worked out for me. I would always put myself in a situation. I would have those prayers and then take the action. I think one of the things is when you have the faith, it's about taking action. So then I would take the actions, and when I take those actions, they're almost guided actions. And so then you're always in favor through listening to the guided actions.
Oh, I absolutely love it. And here we go. And a big thank you, Sandy. I want to bounce back to Annette on this one. I'd love to hear your thoughts because again, as I was doing the research for it, unapologetically love Jesus and love God. And I want to just have a little very relevant segue to sort of rising adversity. There's going to be a lot of people watching who aren't Christians or, don't have that relationship with Jesus or anything. I want to ask Annette this question, then we'll bounce back to Sandy. For those who aren't Christians that are standing on the outside, how do they sort of get into it? What would be your take for a newbie to sort of build their faith and their resilience from a Jesus point of view? Annette, we'll go Annette and then hear from Sandy. What do you think, Annette?
Yeah, awesome question. Thanks. So for me, when I think about how I sort of came to know God, one of the things for me that was important because I didn't, my journey to God started well before I came into a church environment. And it really came back to the thing that I love about God is that he wants you to know that he is real. Yeah. So sometimes we think you need to assume the position and, I've got to pray and do whatever, right? But he's very relaxed. It's not that kind of religious, right? Not to say that is religious, but you know what I mean. It can be very natural, and it should be very natural. Come to him in a way that you would feel comfortable talking. So, for instance, I had some things that were going on in my life. I hadn't had a Christian upbringing at all. Both my parents were, well, my mum would say she was Anglican, but, very not practicing. It wasn't in my life, right? My dad would say he's an atheist. He isn't anymore, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that upbringing, there was a time in my early 20s when I kind of just knew that I had no doubt that there was a God. But then I was asking the question, well, then when I look at different denominations and I'm looking at different churches and different faiths, like there can't be all these gods. There's got to just be one. It's too confusing if there's this many gods. Sorry, I don't mean that disrespectfully to others.
No, it's funny. You're very funny. Carry on. I think it's hilarious. Carry on.
So I kind of just knew that there was a God. So all I started to do, I believe God stirs our hearts, right? It's whether we're listening and attuning to it. Yeah. So I believe the Holy Spirit was stirring my heart to desire him. And as I started saying things like, God, I know I know you're real, but I just don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. I don't know how to find you. I need help. And that it was just little things like that. And I just cried out what was in my heart. And I think the first step is you don't have to have this perfect prayer. You just need to cry out what's in your heart, because if there's one thing I know, God put it there. If there is a cry and a yearning for him, or a yearning for meaning, a yearning for why are we here and purpose, nobody put that cry there but God. Because he put it there for you to desire to find him. And I think that's an important place to start, is go, okay. And then as I started to do that, different things, and I believe the second step, is God will speak to you in a way that only you will know. He doesn't speak to everyone the same, right? He speaks in ways that you will recognize if you are open to noticing. So what started to happen was I ended up in a job. I was working in sales for insulation in my early 20s. And I used to be in that office by myself at night. And there was this one day, about a month after that prayer, when a random, well, she was an employee, but this random employee turned up on that day for that shift just because she got her shift wrong, right? She got the times wrong. She came into that shift and she was a Christian.
Uh-huh.
And we ended up having this very in-depth conversation about God. And it got my attention. And then again, fast forward, over the course of another year, just different things started to happen. I would pray something or I would cry out something in my heart. I turned on the radio, and then the absolute answer to what I wanted was in a song or was someone saying something around me. And I think that's the next part of that. It's cry out whatever is in your heart because God put it there in the first place. And then just be open about how he is going to respond to you, because 1000% he will. It's whether we are then going to notice that.
Oh, I love it. What a great answer from Annette. Love it. That is the coming in. I want to ask the same question as Sandy. It's very relevant to Rock Bottom University. Sandy, for those who aren't Christians or on the outer, sort of adding, what do you think of what Annette said, and how do you sort of encourage them to sort of come into Christ and Jesus to help them work through that rock bottom? What's your take there, Sandy?
Yeah. No, I definitely acknowledge that, there's different approaches, or even different faiths, but ultimately I think it's all one thing, is that there's a higher power.
Yeah.
There's something that is above us, and we're all created. We have all come, we didn't just drop here on earth. We have come through that higher power that has placed us, through our parents, and that's the channel that you would have landed here. But it's the spirit that we all have within us, and that is the same spirit of the same God. And I think that's one of the things that I really value people, because I always see their spirit. I always see, the inner person. And even when you do coaching with people, I'm a business coach, and I can work with people around their business, but also the person, the individual. I always see that the highest potential in people, or the highest self, or even for their business, because a business is an entity, right? So I always see the highest version of it. And so just basically going back to your point, it's really identifying that higher source, and then also identifying within your heart. And I did 100% agree with what Annette said around, it's all in your heart. It's your heart's desire, because that spirit lives in your heart. And so it's really just leaning into what is in your heart. And it even goes to, when people are pursuing, their higher calling, and saying, I'm doing this job, this is not me. It's that inner you that's speaking, and then you're pursuing that purpose. It's that spirit that's speaking in you. And so even if you just tap into that voice that is inside you, that is connecting to God. So it doesn't necessarily have to, I would believe in Jesus Christ, or other people might believe in, Mohammed, or, their religion. But ultimately, all religions are identified to that higher power. But if you don't have that religion that you align with, then focus on what is in your heart. Listen to what is in your heart. The spirit in you will guide you.
Oh, this is amazing. Love it. Love it. We're turning into a sermon here, and I love it. I think we're going to do Boss Ladies Finding Jesus. Yeah. Lassie will like that too. So I'll throw that out, Lassie. We're going to do the Finding Jesus version. Where it just turns into like a Christian channel on LinkedIn. So
Finding you, really?
Yeah. Well said, well said, well said. So this feeds into the next part, and this is the bit that's quite interesting. It's about finding community. And again, and I'm going to say the word sisterhood here, right? Because again, we are talking from a women's point of view, right? But one of the topics I just want to explore with both of you is, okay, so you're going through rock bottom, you're building your adversity. How do you find the sisterhood? How do you find the people to help you through that rock bottom? So we spoke a lot about Jesus and God, which is to me the foundation, but I just want to bounce to you, Annette. How do we find the right people to not only help us through the adversity, but help us improve our lives? What's your take on that one, Annette Bacon?
Oh, I so love this, right? Because, like I said, we're created to connect, right? So we're not islands, and we're not meant to actually do life alone, right? And so for me, my connections and my community is one of the most important parts of going from rock bottom into and overcoming adversity, because I don't want to do it alone. I don't need to do it alone. And when it comes for me, and this is actually a great question, because even just recently, when I was thinking in a networking perspective, I've been trialing different networks to find my tribe, shall we say, right? The people that I really want to invest my time and energy with. Because for me, in community, it's got to be quid pro quo. It's got to be two-way. You can't only go to get. And for me, I'm a giver. So when I am around people, I just want to give. I'm give. I'm give of my time, my energy, my thoughts, my heart, my love, all of my attention and focus I give. But also a healthy community, you're receiving, and you need to learn. I had to learn to receive, right? And so it's finding people. The number one thing was trust. Because in any relationship, even before there's love, there's no love. Well, there's God's love, right? But between us as humans, it is trust. And until we find people that have shown they are trustworthy, you're not going to be vulnerable. So it's, and to me, sometimes it takes, I went out and tried a few networks, and now I've kind of really got very narrow now of the people that I want to connect with, right? And obviously, you know, our connection through Ed's LinkedIn set, or the ones I go to on Thursday night, and I've got Women's Speaker Association, Women in Defence Force now, and also a business women's collective. And those connections from that point of view, what I did was I just went to different networks and I waited to see what the vibe was. Is it my vibe? Can I feel like I can be authentically me? Can I show up as me? The whole me, every part of me. Am I welcome in that space? And are the people that are there, are they people I really want to connect with? And I think that's a really important question, whether it's business or personal, is that you're asking yourself, and you're looking to find, I like to call them my tribe, right? I'm looking for those people, because we're tribal, right? So I'm looking for the people that I want to make those deep connections with. And then I do exactly that. I invest my time and energy and focus into that community to be a part of the community that is a reciprocal giving and receiving.
Love it. Well said from Annette Bacon in the zone, and big thank you. And Sandy, I'd love to pose that question to you as well. Please, what do you think of what Annette said? And can't even say it. Feel free to add to it. Why can't I say feel free today? I need more coffee. That's my excuse. Yeah, what do you think, Sandy?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Yeah, no, definitely, it's like that. Um, oh, I'm back. Okay, so yeah, it's really the connections that, and I think the first and most important connection is your family. You know, I think for me that is what that has always been the most foundation. You know, even all the things that you can go through, I've always stood on family. Family has always been um, the one that has always been there for me. And so those connections is always very important. And I always invest a lot into that, and then find your tribe most important is around your.
Oh, very nice. And we lost Sandy. I had a feeling we were going to lose her. Her internet was dying, but she got the signal. Wasn't that a cool thought, Annette? What's your reaction to the brilliance from Sandy then?
Oh, that was amazing. And I think it is important to recognize, and I want to unpack that family for a moment, because again, because of the work that I've done in domestic violence, and so sometimes family doesn't necessarily need to be our blood. My family is not actually my blood family, right? I have my sister. My mum's passed away, but my mum and I weren't close. My family background, I didn't have a strong family connection with my family. So I think it's really important to, when that is not there, when you don't have that, the people in my life, my closest friends, they actually are my family. I didn't have children for a range of reasons. And so when, for me, but God, I wanted to be a mum, right? That was, it just was what happened. It is what it is. It happened. I didn't have children. But God, what I love about God is he brought people into my life, because I said to him, I don't have family. I don't have good connection with my family. So, and I want that connection. So he just brought people in my life, and again, that community. And my bestest friends, they're not even my friends. They are, in fact, my brothers, my sisters. And I think that's an important part too. So if you don't have the blood connection, family that we would sort of put into that space, it is family to me is the people are the most important. They are, the people that are the most important in your life that you again, that you can have the most intimate and healthy relationships with, that you even choose, right? So you can choose that for your life as well. So I think it's important to know. So sorry, when I prayed and asked that, then he brought, my husband has like 7 nieces and nephews. So he brought those, my best friends. They all had children. I am the best auntie around, and I have that connection. I can still have that motherly connection with the children in my life, and still, I don't have to have been the person. And my niece, I'm so close. I was with her when she was born. I cut her umbilical cord, and she has been a big part of my life. So I think family can come in many different ways.
There we go. Absolutely love it. Now, what I want to finish off on, and I got to say, love what you're saying. This is the bit I want to finish off on, and this is the closing thought. So we'll bounce back to Sandy, and then we'll bounce back to you, Annette. But I want to hear 2 things. I want to hear closing thoughts, and I also want you to add on vision for the future. So as you give a closing statement, also include in there how to help people create a vision for the future. Like, again, we go through rock bottom, we go through adversity, but how do we have that vision for the future to motivate and inspire us? So, Sandy, love to hear your closing thoughts and your angle on vision for the future. What do you think, Sandy?
Where did I get cut off last time? Because I was talking about the family piece.
Oh yeah, and it was good. Annette spoke a bit about family, so feel free just to finish off on your family theme and give us your thoughts on vision for the future in your closing statement.
Yeah, so I think basically what it is, it's in terms of the theme of what we're discussing today. I think it's really those adversities and anything that happens in life. It's really a growth opportunity. And I think that's the most important thing that I just wanted to share, that it's your growth edge, that embrace it. And once you know why you're there, that's where your purpose is born. And when you get your purpose, then your choices, the choices that you take aligned to that purpose, is basically what would take you into your vision. That's basically what your vision is bringing all that purpose into life. And I always share this, that everyone has something to give, everyone has a gift to share, and it's just tapping into that. And it starts with that heart desire, that inner voice, and tapping into that. And in terms of sharing that, it starts, it share whatever your gift is, you start sharing it with those around you, and then those that you're called to share. And whether that's in your vocation of work, or it's your profession, or whatever it might be, but everyone is basically taking that gift that they have, and they're sharing it into that vocation, or into that um, thing that they do in their life that they find purpose in. And so just say yes to whatever you're leaning in inside your heart. Just say yes to it, give permission to it, because that's basically what your vision is.
Oh my God, well said, Sandy. Love your work, amazing, Sandy. And everyone across the world, please connect with amazing Sandy Tembo on LinkedIn. Sandy from Brisbane, love it, Sandy. Big thank you. And big thank you. Annette, love to hear your thought. Please, reactions on Sandy's point. Talk about vision for the future and your closing thoughts, Annette.
Oh, Sandy, thanks for talking about gifts and talents, right? Because one of the most powerful things, and I actually use a Japanese concept with my clients called the Ikigai. I think that's how you say it. But it's basically a concept that looks at, so it's looking at what are your gifts and talents, and, what are the, would people potentially, want to pay for a service of that? And, anyway, there's 4 aspects to that model, but one of the biggest parts, I think, is that, we all have gifts and talents. And sometimes if we don't know where to go in terms of vision or picture for the future, because sometimes if you've been in so much, but you've hit rock bottom and you're going through all that adversity, sometimes thinking big picture, you're so used to just thinking small that you can't necessarily get into that space yet. It's just too big a leap. So looking at, starting to look at, what are my values? What do I value in my life? I value family. Mine? Faith, health, connection, growth, learning. They're my value. They're my key values. So, and when we understand our values drive our decisions. So when you're thinking, if you're not a big picture person and you find it hard, I find it's really important just to go back, because what we want to do, we have one life. There is no other life. Nobody is promised tomorrow. We just have now. That's it. So sometimes coming from that space and saying, okay, I want to live my life in an alignment with myself. The way to do that is in alignment with your values. So I think when you're thinking about vision, and part of those values then is, how do I want to experience those values? So for me, how do I want to experience my faith personally and professionally? How do I want to experience connection personally and professionally? And as you start to build that picture, and recognizing your gifts and your talents, and what's there that you want to be, that you can share with others, and starting to then create. And then you can start to answer the question, and a common question is, if I was on my funeral bed, what regrets might I have, or do I not want to have? And using that even as a measure, how do I not want to end my life, can sometimes inform how you actually will then, in order to not live that way, then I can create the picture how I actually want to live.
Oh, well said. Love it, Annette Bacon. And love it, Sandy. And I just want to say a big thank you for tuning in to Boss Ladies. It's been a great one today. Now, I'm going to pitch Sandy and Annette to both of you. So a bit of context. So Sandy Tembo is a really good friend of ours from Brisbane. She's also a massive business networking leader in Brisbane as well. And she knows everyone in Brisbane, and she's a legendary business coach. Is that a fair way of describing you, Sandy? Is there anything you want to add to that description I gave of you?
Yeah, no, I am, yeah, in Brisbane, and I'm here to support people. I work with businesses mostly, but I'm also, like I mentioned before, there's always, you can want to work with the business leader, with the business, but you first work with the person. The business is linked to the person, and I always support people with resiliency and growth edges. Actually, that's why one of the things I joined, because it's the thing that I'm really passionate about, to get people across the line, especially, and build up that resiliency. Because once someone is built up with their resiliency, they can do anything. They can then go for that vision and make an incredible business. But if the person needs to be more resilient, that's something I support with as well. And on the business side, I support mostly the risk and compliance, which is also resiliency on a business side. So I'm all about resilience.
Oh, my God. You heard it from Sandy. Love your work, Sandy. Please connect with Sandy and be amazing. Thank you for joining us on Boss Ladies.
Thank
Love
you,
your work,
Ed.
Sandy.
Thank you, Annette.
Pleasure. And Annette as well is a Christian business leader as well. She does a lot of work with Christians and everyone, works heavily with women in mindset and business transformation. Is that a fair comment, Annette? Is there anything you want to correct or add to that record I established?
No, that's on point. My passion is definitely working with women in leadership, and it's really about helping them to step into their God-given confidence in their leadership, so that they can be the leader that they want to be in that space. Whatever work, whether they're in a business, whether they're in a business, they're employed in a leadership role. I think it is. I'm just passionate about creating space where they can take that agency and ownership of having that, creating that space in that work environment. And if that work environment isn't working, then having an exit strategy into what else is there. What's my exit strategy? So, because I think that's important. Sometimes culture takes time to change. And quite often, if you've had that experience for a while, most people come to you, they don't come in the moment a problem presents. The problem's persisted for a while. So if they've been in that space for a few years or even longer, then the question becomes, oh gosh, do I really want to stay much longer? I've actually already given all of my time and energy into this space. Nothing's changed. So it's also looking at that exit strategy. So what could it be? A business, a completely different career, a step up, a step back, a step sideways.
Oh,
Yeah.
There we go. And friends, you've heard it from Annette Bacon from Perth, West Coast. A big thank you. So friends, thank you so much for watching Around the World. Make sure you like, share, comment, and see you next time. Bye, everyone. Keep staying
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
awesome.